I want to tell you that I am so disappointed in the Rednecks. I grew up in Opelika, Alabama, and I grew up, running the streets literally with the Rednecks, smoking pot and drinking beer and driving in fast, 350 Chevrolet cars. And it was wonderful, and I had a great time with them. And I always felt different. I mean, I was never really like them. My mother was an American Indian, and when we were kids, we would be traveling in the car. There's a family, and we'd go through these southern towns, and there'd be all of these statues of southern war heroes, and my father was just, oh, that's this guy, that, and he just looked up to it. And my mother, being an Indian from Pembroke, North Carolina, she did not look up to it at all, and she didn't like racism and everything that went with it. And she didn't say much, but she instilled that in me. And maybe part of it, I hope, was just me, because I always believed in the dream of America, of freedom and equality and all of those wonderful ideals. I knew they were hard to get to, but I felt like this was a deviation and a degradation of everything that was America. But I still loved my redneck friends growing up and had a wonderful time with them. And how they disappointed me is when they started pulling down all of these statues of, Confederate statues, which I thought ought to be taken down. I thought it ought to be done differently. We should have voted, and said, listen, this is not good. Black people don't need to go to a courthouse that, represents Confederate America. That's understandable. But when they did just start jerking them down, these rednecks didn't do anything. They didn't fight at all. And they had always been so, forget hell and we believe. And I liked that dedication, even though I didn't agree with what they were dedicated to. I liked that kind of belief. And it was just a belief with no real traction under it. And I guess it's good. And in the end, it speaks really good for rednecks in the South, because they use that to bolster themselves and keep themselves going and up and moving forward after, losing the war. But really at the heart of it, they understood that that's not a tenable position, that it's not right. And, a lot of them are religious and things. And so that would have come into conflict. So really the South isn't as bad as they've portrayed themselves, trying to live through the trauma of losing the war back in the day. Really, they didn't resist. They didn't do anything when they pulled down those statues. And it must be that part of them said, that's the right thing to do. And so I guess my disappointment with the rednecks is also misplaced. I ought to actually take my hat off to them.